What if your AI assistant actually truly remembered you? Not just for one chat, but forever. It'd know what you like, learn from everything you've ever talked about, and pretty soon it'd be anticipating what you need. That's kind of the holy grail for AI, right? But it's been held back by this one massive problem. So today, we're going to dive into a project called Unibase that's trying to solve it by building the one thing most AIs are missing, a real long-term memory. So let's just start with that big question. Have you ever noticed this? When you talk to a chatbot, it's like you're meeting for the first time, every single time. The second you close that window, poof, everything you just talked about is gone. They can't learn, they can't build context. So why is that? Well, the technical term for this whole problem is stateless AI, and this is the exact thing Unibase is trying to fix. See, most AI agents are stateless. They just can't hold on to information from one chat to the next, and that makes it impossible for them to actually evolve or, work together in any meaningful way. It's like having this brilliant assistant who has a bad case of amnesia every 5 minutes. And that brings us right to Unibase, the hero of our story today. Their whole goal is to build the foundation for what they're calling an open agent internet, a world where AIs can finally remember, learn, and actually start working together. So their mission is really the key here. Unibase isn't trying to build another chatbot. Nope. They're building the memory layer for all the AI agents out there. Think of it like a shared, permanent, and super secure brain that any AI can plug into. And that word decentralized is so important. It means this memory isn't controlled by one single company, like a Google or an Amazon. And verifiable means you can mathematically prove its integrity. It's a huge deal. Now, how are they actually building this thing? Well, it breaks down into 3 main layers. First step, you've got Membase. That's basically the hard drive for this AI memory. It uses this really advanced crypto called zero-knowledge proofs to check data without ever revealing the data itself, a game changer for privacy. Second, there's the Agent Interoperability Protocol, or AIP. This is like a universal translator, letting AIs from different platforms finally talk to each other and share what they know. And last, Unibase. DAI is the super fast internet connection, making sure all this data can be accessed in a flash. And of course, there's a token that makes this whole ecosystem go round. The UB token isn't just for speculation. It's got real jobs to do. It's the money you use to pay for storing or reading data from this shared AI brain. You can also stake it to help new AIs get online. It even enables transactions between agents without those annoying gas fees, the transaction costs you see all over crypto. And you get to vote on where the network goes next. It's literally the fuel for the whole machine. Okay, so that's the what. Now let's get into the what have they been doing. Because a great idea is one thing, but execution, well, that's everything. And Unibase has been really busy turning their big idea into a real working piece of infrastructure. And this timeline from early 2026 really shows that momentum building. Back in January, they were co-hosting a big summit in Seoul with a huge player, BNB Chain. Then by early March, they rolled out a critical tech upgrade. They made it so agents could transact using stablecoins, basically digital dollars. That's a huge step for real-world use. And then, just a couple weeks after that, they announced a major partnership. And here's what the Unibase team themselves had to say about that partnership with HyperGPT. This is a big one because HyperGPT is an AI platform that has backing from giants like Microsoft and Google for startups. So this integration means Unibase's memory layer is getting plugged into a much bigger enterprise-backed world, which could be a massive catalyst for people to actually start using it. But here is where the story gets a little more complicated. For all the awesome development they're doing, Unibase still has to live in the wild, wild west of crypto markets. And this creates a classic tug-of-war between the project's solid fundamentals and some very real, very harsh market risks. This slide just sums up that conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the bull case, great partnerships, real tech upgrades like AIP 2.0 on the way, and signs that developers are actually starting to build with this stuff. But then you look at the other side, the bear case. The whole market is scared, there's a constant stream of new tokens hitting the market, the price is all over the place, and some analysts are raising red flags about centralization. And when we talk about volatility, oh man, we mean it. I mean, just look at this chart. This is the story of just the last month. Sure, it had a nice little one-day pop of over 10%, but that came after a pretty brutal 30-day drop of 34%. This kind of ride is definitely not for the faint of heart, and it just shows you how much the price is getting pushed around by the market. So what's driving all that downward pressure? Well, a big part of it is this number right here, 27. That was the score on the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, and it basically signals extreme fear across the entire market. When investors are this spooked, they're just not as willing to take a chance on smaller, innovative projects, no matter how good the tech is. Another huge headwind is something called token unlocks. See, when Unibase first launched, a bunch of tokens for early investors and the team were locked up. Well, now they're being released on a set schedule. That means a constant new supply is hitting the market. And basic economics tells you when supply goes up and demand is still trying to catch up, it can put a real damper on the price. And finally, we have that centralization question. This quote from a market analyst really highlights a key risk. Even though Unibase is building all this decentralized tech, it seems the team still holds some admin keys that would let them freeze or even create new tokens. For investors who are really in this for censorship resistance and true decentralization, that is a major, major red flag. So that brings us to the big finale, the outlook. With all these different forces pulling in opposite directions, what could the future actually hold? Can the project's real fundamental progress win this tug of war against market fear and some of its own internal risks? Well, if you look at what some of the analysts are predicting for 2026, you see a pretty tight agreement. A few different sources are seeing a potential price ceiling right around that 3-cent mark in the near term. Now, of course, this is just what some prediction models are spitting out, and it is absolutely not financial advice, but it does give you a sense of what the market is kind of expecting right now. And really, at the end of the day, it all boils down to this one crucial question. The ultimate test for Unibase is simple. Can they get enough developers building on their network and enough AI agents using it? Can that real on-chain activity, which creates real demand for the UB token, grow fast enough to soak up all that selling pressure from the scared market and those token unlocks? That's the whole ballgame. Which leaves us with this one last thought. Unibase has this incredibly powerful, long-term vision to build the memory for all of AI. But to get there, it has to survive the brutal, short-term reality of the crypto market. And whether that grand mission is strong enough to win that fight, well, that's the story we're all going to be watching.